It probably won't stop on us again, right?
Who knows? Who knows?
Welcome. You're listening to Nuditea, a podcast where Wendy and I get naked with our feelings while drinking tea. I'm Kimberly.
And I'm Wendy, and on this podcast we talk about food, travel, adult things, our feelings, basically anything we want to talk about, we talk about it here. Because we don't have conversations outside of this podcast anymore. It's great.
Until, 3 days ago? I hadn't seen Wendy for probably 6 weeks.
So today we are talking about the food that we had during our recent travels. This is part 2 of our travel series. We both recently went to Spanish-speaking countries. And in the previous episode, we talked about the destination and the places we visited and the ambiance, etc. This episode is all about the food. So let's start with what we're drinking.
I'm just drinking your very generic chai tea.
You don't have it with milk.
I don't really have any teas with milk. Even orange pico, I'm all like, just give me it straight.
I think chai and Earl Grey are ones that sometimes like to sneak a little milk in there.
I mean, people make chai lattes out of them and stuff like that, and that's very
delicious.
milky.
And then I am drinking a Chinese herbal tea. I tried to say this like 3 minutes ago, and I've already forgotten which one it is. Bai Lan Gan. It's made of some sort of wild herb vegetable thing you find in China. It's supposed to have like healing properties, especially when you're on a cold, when you have a cold, or it's supposed to warm you up and prevent diseases. False.
Lovely.
It's all false. But it tastes delicious and sweet. It's mainly just sugar, I'm pretty sure. So that's what I'm drinking. You are going to start today.
Yes. So, if you listened to the last episode, you knew that I was in Colombia for about 7 days, and I visited 2 cities, Bogota and Cartagena. One of the things my sisters and I noticed about Colombia is all their restaurants are named very specific things that they're probably really good at. So there was a place called Crepes and Waffles. It's a chain pretty much just in Colombia, but guess what they do? Crepes and Waffles. They do a bunch of other things, but like...
That's their thing.
Yeah. If something says chicken on it, they're probably just doing chicken real well, and they want you to know that. So there's this one spot called Wok. Guess what they do?
Chinese food?
They do all types of Asian food.
Oh, okay.
And they do it quite well. And it's all over the place. You got your sushi, you got your ramen. I'm just doing Japanese right now. You have your different pad thais, they have different curries. It's all over.
Those restaurants always make me very suspicious.
Right? I will say, because you are very particular about your pad thai and you've given me your knowledge about maybe what a very authentic pad thai is supposed to taste like, I enjoyed their pad thai. It was a little sweet though. Not enough smoky.
Yeah.
But still like very good. And all the other dishes that were there, Lorraine got sushi to start with. Their sushi was amazing. And I wouldn't be all like, let's go to Colombia for some sushi. Although they do ceviche really well. So... Lots of fish. Good. I had a lot of fish on this trip.
So good.
If people ask me, what were the traditional meals you had? Honestly, not a whole lot of traditional meals. If you're in Bogota...
What would be a Colombian traditional meal, though? I don't even know.
We kind of went to a relatively more traditional place on our last day when we went to go visit Monserrate. And it was up on like the mountain by the monastery. But I had this stew that was I think it was catfish, and the broth was purple. So there is traditional Colombian food. I just didn't really know what was traditional when we went there.
Okay.
But like my sister and her boyfriend, they eat all kinds of food, so we weren't just like eating traditional Colombian food.
Right.
And also his mother is Ecuadorian, so he's got a little bit of that mix.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't really know what would be typically traditional.
Okay.
So we ate all things on the trip. And so that was just a really nice kind of first starter when we got back from our mountainside to have some Asian food, because I do love my Asian food. We also, the mountainside glamping food.
Yeah.
So we had to pre-order or tell them what we wanted before we got there, because it's not
interesting.
It's probably relatively secluded, and they have to like go to the market or the shop in order to get the ingredients they need. So for my dinner, I got like a sheared meat, plantain fried chips, and salad. It wasn't like your most like gourmet stuff, but it was like you could see the person making it in like the little window, and it was still very, very delicious. And we each had like a different thing, so we got to pick off what we wanted. And also plantain chips, they're real good.
Yep.
They were really, really good.
Yep.
Except for, I noticed I drifted more towards probably your store-bought, like, what we would consider a bag of chips, plantain chips, because they're thinner. You can get ones that are, like, from green bananas, and you can get ones that are a little bit sweeter on the other side. I really like the ones that are from green bananas.
Really?
Yes.
The super starchy ones?
Yeah, they were
You
good.
heathen. Oh my goodness.
I love a very brown spotted banana.
That is basically the only kind of banana I will eat. And with plantains, I also tend to like my plantains on the riper side because they're just a little sweeter.
I like them all in all forms, though the factory made ones just they got that thinness.
Yeah.
And I do love my potato chips. It's very reminiscent of that. And then for breakfast, I had originally wanted a ricotta souffle.
Ooh, oh my gosh.
Because what would that be? Like, I wanted to really kind of discover that. Apparently, they didn't have it, even though I ordered it. So maybe I was like the only one who ordered it, and it wasn't
they were
worth
like, oh,
getting the
souffle, so much work. No.
So I basically just got like their French toast, but then I had a little bit of a ham and cheese kind of like roll, I guess, and that was delicious. And then we had some fresh fruit on the side. They brought us up coffee and hot chocolate and just juices. It was a really nice breakfast just in the morning before we packed up and
Really
left.
glamping.
Yes.
Very glam.
Yeah, they brought it up to us. We asked for a breakfast there. For dinner, we went down to like their seating area, which is also lovely. And they were playing Top 40. So you're like, you know who comes here? A lot of tourists, probably.
Yeah.
But maybe they like their Top 40. Who knows? If we hop over to Cartagena, my boyfriend and her sister.
My boyfriend and her sister.
Let me restart that. My sister and her boyfriend, they have their favorite spots. So it was really easy to just be like, wherever you guys think are good. So we don't have to scope out the areas that we're like, oh, will this be good? Will this be good? So less time was given to that, which is kind of nice. So they really like this place called The Pearl. That's just in English.
Yeah.
You can imagine what it is in Spanish. Really similar. Oh, it's La Pearl, I think.
Pearl. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
And they really love the shrimp ravioli there. I got to try some. The sauce.
Ugh, that sounds amazing.
It was so good. And what I tell you, I had a lot of seafood and fish. I had some tuna steak encrusted with like some hazelnuts on top. And there came with, I want to say, just a lot of good vegetables underneath. And it was such a like a filling meal. It was great. It was great.
What kind of sauce was on the shrimp ravioli? Was it like a white sauce?
I feel like it was like a white, but it was more like orange or like pink, kind of mixed in with it.
I'm wondering if they used, you know, the episode of Shokugeki where that one like bandana guy uses like the shrimp shells and everything to create a really amazing broth, which is something that they actually do, like lobster shells, shrimp shells. I'm wondering if they incorporate that into the sauce and added like a cream.
I could see that.
Yeah?
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. I don't remember that episode. Was it not the main guy? Not Soma,
no, it was Alice's little buddy that she found.
Who's super calm, but then when he goes to cook, he just gets
he puts
so
on
intense.
a bandana and is like,
Right.
That guy.
He did it.
Yeah.
He was very good with seafood.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was just a really nice ambiance as well to the restaurant. Also, I messed up big time while I was there. I had used a card, and I've been using it, but Lorenz had told us earlier, just wait till they take out the card because it'll display when.
Yeah.
And usually, I should have just handed it back to her, but then I didn't do that, and I was like, oh, I thought what it had said in Spanish was like received or approved or whatever, so I took it out. It just made the whole thing so much longer. Apparently, the waitress was like, and we had to like, it just took forever to fix. And I just felt so bad. I'm like, oh, now they just think I'm a classic, like, white girl messing up. It
happens to everyone. But that is embarrassing and hilarious.
Yes. So that happened at the Pearl.
Oh, that's too bad that it had to happen at, like, the nice restaurant.
I'll do my bar hopping now because right after we had the Pearl, we've been kind of like slowly drinking all day. This was the Independence Parade Day when we got in, and it's very big. Just like, oh, go here, have a drink. Oh, go here, have a drink, which is not really my style. I'm like, one place will just do it all, or I'll go back home and drink and stuff like that. But this is just the culture is just drink and be buzzed kind of throughout the day.
Ooh, I like that.
Binge drink like I tend to kind of be doing lately. So bar hopping, there's these two places that my sister's boyfriend really liked and wanted to take us. It was more of like the mixologist feel and very hipstery inside. We went to this one place. My sister and her boyfriend call it the jar place because there's just a bunch of things in jars, but the bar's in the middle and it's actually 3 floors, and it's got some like DJ in the corner, but like not obnoxious like beats going. It's just a very nice
DJing.
Yes, it's a very nice feel. The lighting's like a little bit dim, very nice. Upstairs they have like pool tables and whatnot, but we stayed on the first level. My sister's boyfriend made sure my sister and I were sitting like at the bar so we could watch them mix the drinks, which was really cool.
Yeah, it's always fun.
They make it a show, and
they're
just it's a lot of fun. And I had so many sips of so many drinks because we'd all order a different drink, and then we'd sip, and then we ordered a second round with a different drink, so we all sipped. I remember really liking this one called Omasha, I think that's what it was called. But at the same time, my sister also ordered, I think it was pretty much just like tequila and cinnamon or something.
Oh, wow, okay.
And it was delicious. But yeah, they always go all out with the drinks, and the glasses are kind of cool. But yeah, and our bartender was really like fun and good with that. So we had 2 drinks there, and then we're like, well, we checked upstairs. We're like, you know what? Let's go to another place. Not that upstairs wasn't bad or anything. We're just like, we're feeling a new vibe. Yeah. So we went to another one of my sister's boyfriend's favorites, which was El Baron. The Baron. To translate
Got
for
it.
you. Yeah. I figured. And this one, a little bit cozier. We didn't sit at the bar to watch her make them, but we sat in this like small corner booth, and while they lacked, I guess, the flair of watching the person make it, they like went all out with their presentation of the drinks. Mine came in this copper, heavy as fuck squirrel with a straw coming out of its back.
All right, okay.
I think it had a little bit of like coffee flavor too, which I'm not big on.
Okay.
I think it did. But it was blended with a lot of other things. So it's not the one thing that's hitting you in the face. Yeah. So I was probably thinking, I'm getting a little tired. I need a little pick-me-up if we're going to keep doing this. Yeah. One of my sisters, hers came on like a artist palette. Which was kind of weird.
Fun.
But fun. Yeah. And then my other sisters came in like a bird cage.
Wow. Okay.
So
these are fun spots. I love it when places just do weird shit.
So if you're in Cartagena, I would recommend the one place, the Baron or El Baron, and then the other one was Alcumico.
Sure.
Or the jar place. If you see a place with a lot of jars in the window, go into that spot. It's fantastic. And then finally, in Cartagena, we were searching around. It was kind of rainy, which hardly happens in Cartagena because it's more of the Caribbean spots, not Bogota, where they're going to be raining at least some of the day. And we were like, okay, let's find a place. We'll step in. And the other place that my sister and boyfriend wanted to go or had in mind wasn't open yet. So we saw this place. It's called Agua de Leon Restaurante. And since I was so jealous of their seafood or their shrimp ravioli, I ended up getting this seafood ravioli. And it had fried like garlic bits on top, which I'm always
can't go wrong with fried garlic.
You can't. It was also, but it had this like black sauce. And you're always
it's like squid ink?
Yes, I think it was squid ink, but it was like mixed with other things. It was so good. But when you look at it, we don't eat a lot of black sauces, so it's a little.
You don't.
Fine, fair. And people I know don't tend to eat a lot of
Chinese
black sauces.
people are like in there with that squid ink as well. We got our black bean sauces. We got our like dark chili things. Mexicans love their moles.
Well.
You white people and your white sauces.
White sauces are so good.
They are.
But this black sauce was also delicious. And it came on this like, they had really cute plates. However, they were all in English, so I don't know where they ordered them from. Okay. But they had like little sayings on it. I can't remember the saying. I have a picture of it and I'll show you it later.
Post it on Instagram.
One was all like, I probably will. And it'll be like, you are in the right place or blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
It was very cute. It was like one of the definitely like even more fancy inside than I would say the Pearl was. The Pearl, when we went, had a little bit of a more laid back feeling, but still nice. Yeah. And then this one was a little more, I want to say like spacious, a little more minimalistic in a sense.
Yeah.
And just had a little more of a fancier vibe. It did also cost a little bit more.
Of course.
But honestly,
worth it.
And when you look at the conversion rate between Colombian pesos and Canadian dollars, it's
nothing.
It's honestly nothing.
Everything is so cheap.
So cheap.
Yeah.
So I had a lovely little time there. And I'll just finish off with juices down in Colombia.
Okay.
It's very common to have a juice with almost every meal because even if you ask for water, you're still getting it in a bottle.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because of just
water.
Sanitation.
Yep.
Yes, hygiene and stuff like
that. Don't want Hep A.
You don't. So, while you might get your water, which costs barely anything, you're also probably going to get a juice on the side. They do all these different kind of juices. You know, you got your mango, you got your passion fruit, you got a strawberry, you got all of them. I'm papaya, you name it. And they do it really, really well. It's obviously super fresh and it's just... There was one that, what was it, cocoa? But so I fell in love with, I don't really drink juice, as you've seen. I don't think you drink a whole lot of juice either. It's not, because there is always just so much sugar in it. And I'm like, why waste my calories there? But because it gets separated sometimes, if you leave it, you can see all the water kind of in it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, pretty much just, you can also find a lot of people on the street selling fresh juice and stuff like that. And obviously you gotta keep in mind the...
Hep A!
Well, and just like, there's... ways to be like, oh yeah, that person is cutting it right out in front of you, or it just things look a little more clean. So obviously with any kind of street food or food stalls, you have to be careful with that. But my sister's boyfriend was really good at obviously knowing all the hints of that. Yes, that's kind of a little bit of a sum up
of your trip.
My food times. Very good.
I guess it's my turn. It's your turn. Essentially, I wanted to get all of like the home cooked. I didn't want to go anywhere like crazy upscale. I wanted to go super local. So most of my experience, save for one, was basically just meals cooked at Elaine's house or cooked by another sweet old Mexican lady or street food and some local spots. I think the meal that stands out to me the most was the one that we had when we were floating along the canal in that boat, because I had actually gone with one of my friend Hanamar's friends. We drove around to where she lives in Mexico City, which is a neighborhood that is not touristy at all. We got there and we had to bring all of this food over from her neighbor's house because her neighbor was the one who cooked everything. So it was just like pots and pots and pots of home-cooked Mexican food. A little bit not authentic, I will say. This is my only complaint about my whole food experience in Mexico. I was with a bunch of like, you know, other white people from Canada because it was a wedding and they cannot handle spicy food. So every place that we went with them, we had to be like, oh, no spicy, no spicy. And I was very upset about it.
Because you want spice.
Yeah, I love spice. And before going to Mexico, my friend had told me like, oh, some of the mole, which if you don't know is kind of this like crazy mysterious black, super dark, deep brown, maroonish sauce that they have in Mexico that is paired with meats. Sometimes it has cocoa powder in it. There's a lot of things that go into it. Which is probably why it's black. But it's delicious. My friend had told me previously that some of the mole can make you cry tears of straight fire because it's so spicy. Okay. But all of the mole I had was very tame. It was very flavorful, but it was very tame in terms of spice because I was with a bunch of sissy white people who can't handle spice. Like, if I had gone with you, we would have gone for that spicy stuff.
Yes. I would have went as spicy as you want and be like, okay, we gotta rein it in next time. I would have had to see where my threshold went.
Don't want the fire poops. Essentially.
No.
Anyway, so this meal, we had the mole with some meat. The Mexicans love their pork and chicken. So we had mole with pork. We had something called tinga, which is a chicken dish. It's delicious. It's like saucy. It's tomatoey sometimes, either like a red tomato, like normal tomato, or like in a tomatillo, so like a green tomato sauce. So good. We had a lot of cactus on this boat because they also love their grilled cactus. This was almost like a, it was
Grilled
almost
cactus.
like a, sorry?
Grilled cactus.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Obviously, they cut off all the outside, so you're
Yeah,
not
so
eating.
the outside skin is peeled off, and then you're left with that like slimy interior, and then you either like can grill it whole and serve it as is, you can slice it into strips, and they do like a little mix with some salt and some other, I don't know what spices, but it's quite good. And then we had rice and corn and tortillas, obviously. Oh my gosh, Kim, I can never go back to a flour tortilla ever again. I don't know how I was eating that nonsense before. It sucks compared to a real corn tortilla. The first day I was there, Elaine took me to this little restaurant, not little, it's quite a big restaurant, and I think it's a chain, but it's one that the local neighborhood usually enjoys. And we got carnitas and we got a set. So carnitas is just like meat, specifically pork. So you just get this platter of different cuts of pork cooked in different ways, and you are supposed to eat it with your corn tortillas. And it is so good. The corn tortilla is the way to go. Flour tortillas, canceled. I can never have one again. I will never touch a flour tortilla ever again in my life. I swear to God.
Well, where are you going to buy your corn?
They have good corn tortillas now at No Frills, and they have some at Metro.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never tried the No Frills ones, but the Metro ones are okay. They're not as like corn flavor, obviously, as the ones I had in Mexico, because they're probably not as fresh. They may be not made with 100% corn, but they're quite good. Better than the flour tortilla.
This is the danger of traveling.
Yeah.
You go somewhere, you try something, and then you can't go back. However, I have slowly been able to get sushi other places.
How was the sushi in Colombia compared to Japan? I forgot to...
Honestly, very good. It's been over a year since I've been in Japan, so it's really hard to make a side-by-side comparison.
Yeah.
But, you know, I worry when I go to a sushi place, and I'm all like, how will this be? And I found it, I was pleasantly surprised.
Good.
My sister ordered it, and I only had like one or two, but I was like, no, this is damn good. And I had sushi back in Kingston not too long ago.
Oh,
which was
that?
It was fine.
Maybe just
It
some
was
time
real
has
cheap, real
healed
cheap.
you
It
a
does.
little bit, and maybe in a year I'll be like, I guess flour tortillas are okay.
And I think it's a matter of when I'm in Kingston or I'm in Mississauga, I just don't order sashimi. Because that's where you can really tell a difference.
Oh,
the
yeah.
rolls, there's a lot of stuff going on,
Yeah.
so you don't necessarily, you're not like, oh, this isn't like I remember it back in here. So that's what I've learned to kind of do.
Yeah. Essentially, had a lot of meat in Mexico. I don't know what they're doing for their veggie intake, but to be honest...
Not much.
I was like pretty constipated that entire time because I was eating almost nothing but meat and like tortillas and a lot of different like limes and chilies and things. As you know, Kim, I usually eat like a diet of 80% vegetable, so that was a little rough for me. But the carnitas are so delicious, you kind of just get over it.
And you just deal with the constipation pains.
You just deal with it. Eventually it'll come out, you know? In addition to the restaurant meats, I was very lucky to have the opportunity to try street food multiple times because we lived very close to like a convenience store / bakery, and outside of that area were some really good street food stalls. One that Elaine and her parents go to like all the time. Essentially, when they don't want to cook or they're coming back from a trip or anything, they go to that taco stall. And I tried their tacos, and holy heck, it is so good. And they make it in front of you, and the stall is like smoky, and there's just people like sitting there and eating tacos. It's like everything you want street food to
Mexico.
be. Yeah, and there's just like piles of limes and cilantro, and it's just so porky. Ugh, it's so good. And they don't hold back with their salsas. They can make some spicy salsas. I think one of them tried to warn me. He like saw me, and I went on 2 occasions, once with Elaine's sister and once with Elaine. And I think one of the times the guy looked at me and I'm pretty sure he asked if I was going to be okay. I was okay. I did not have anything that was too spicy in Mexico, even when I wasn't dining with the super white family.
Yeah.
The street food was amazing. I also got to try street tamales, which I have tried once before in Massachusetts. the shop was run by clearly a Latina woman, and she was very nice, but I think the difference is just that you're in Mexico and these are freshly made and they're made daily and they're just like selling them like so fast that the taste can't be compared. Yeah. The tamales I
You don't
had,
think maybe it's like the atmosphere you're in? Do you think the atmosphere really changes?
They're beefy boys.
Okay.
Like their tamales, there's so much of that like corn exterior. There's different types of fillings as well. So I realized when I got there, I thought tamales were always savory. But there's actually dolce tamales as well, which means just like sweet versions. I got one with like pineapple in it. Never thought I would like something that has pineapple wrapped in like milled corn, steamed for hours. But it was actually delicious. It was delicious. It's like a very hearty dessert, but not too sweet, which is probably why I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah. Obviously.
Yeah. And then I would recommend tamales with tinga, which is the chicken thing that I talked about before, to anyone. Holy heck, that stuff is so freaking good. It's so good. Something about that, like those thin threads of chicken with the corn. Full meal in like a little handheld package. So good. So I have to swallow my saliva real quick.
$400 you brought over for your trip was only spent on food, right?
Most of it actually was spent on souvenirs. Yeah. Elaine took me to a really cool souvenir market where I just like busted a couple $100s. But yeah, the rest of it was basically on food. And like, what else would I spend my money on?
It's
right?
true. I don't know, travel, but I guess...
like a lot of my travel was kind of accounted for.
Right.
Yeah. And the transportation was so cheap. Oh my God. This should have gone into the travel version, like the travel episode, but Uber's there, so freaking cheap. I think I took an Uber that took almost an hour to get to my destination. It turned out to be like less than $20 Canadian.
Yeah, that's what I found in Colombia too. It's also, I think, Uber's kind of screwing over their drivers a bit.
Yeah.
Which is why, like, you're supposed to tip better.
I know. And then Elaine and my friend who's getting married told me that I was not supposed to tip the Uber drivers in Mexico because in their normal taxis, they don't tip. So then there was like that imbalance. But I was like, but then don't taxi drivers make more of their... Whatever. Yeah. I'm not sure how the system works, but they yelled at me for tipping my Uber driver. And I was like, I feel strange not tipping my Uber driver.
Yeah.
Sorry, that should have gone into the travel episode, but I didn't think of it at the time. The next thing I wanted to bring up was the lovely bakeries of Mexico. I never knew that Mexicans really love their bread. They love their bread. I went into a restaurant on the day that I was out and about alone, and before I even like sat down and ordered my food, they gave me a platter with two gigantic Mexican, they're kind of like baguettes called bollo. They're basically like the quintessential Mexican meal bread. It's gigantic, but instead of being like really dense and hearty like a French baguette, it's super light. It's so fluffy. It's literally like a marshmallowy texture. And the outside is like, it doesn't have the thick crust, which you know I suffer from.
Can have, yeah.
Yeah. The outside is like a lovely, light, very thin brown layer. It's a lovely bread. Good for like dipping into your soups. Delightful. They love that bread. The bakery that was close to Elaine's house where I was living was called Bollo. And we went there on multiple occasions because, as I said in the travel episode, I was there close to the time of the Day of the Dead.
They probably have a Day of the Bread, don't they?
Every day is the Day of the Bread. Okay. And the Day of the Dead has a special bread called the Day of the Dead bread, which is why I screwed up earlier saying that. But it's essentially this round bread in various like diameters, and it has like these crisscross cookie, I guess strips baked onto the bread. And the bread is essentially like a lovely, almost brioche type of bread, so like delicious.
So do they put like cookie dough in strips on top of this bread and then crisscross?
Yeah, it's almost like if you could imagine a shortbread that's a lot like lighter. Okay. Like fluffier almost in texture, and it gets baked on. It's almost like a little crust, and it gets baked on in like a crisscross pattern, and then there's always like a little ball of dough on the top in the middle of the crisscross. It's supposed to symbolize bones and a skull because it's the Day of the Dead bread. Yeah, it is hot dang it delicious. Even like the white people I was with there, I need to stop calling them the white people, but I don't know what else to call them. We'll call them the in-law family. The in-law family also super loved it. It's just like delicious, it's sweet, it's like filling.
I mean, it's not hot, why wouldn't they love it?
Exactly. It's sweet bread. Everyone loves sweet bread.
That's true.
Some other fun Mexican bakery items that I tried were the Day of the Dead bread stuffed with ricotta cheese. Oh my god. Like a lemon ricotta.
Yeah.
Elaine said she's never even had it. The Mexican girl has never, apparently they're coming out with like all these different varieties of like
you gotta set your shop apart.
Bread. It's amazing. And she's like, she was also shocked that such innovation for bread, you know? She's never even tried it. And I was ecstatic. That was the one I brought back. You had some of it.
Oh, yeah, that was real good.
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah. I brought back Day of the Dead bread. Literally the biggest one I could find. I brought it back. That was the one that was stuffed with like the lemony ricotta thing.
Pretty sure I ate most of it out of this house.
I mean, it's delicious.
Just kept going. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a little smush, but you get the general idea. Amazing bread. I also tried a wonderful bread that is also kind of brioche based. Okay, I'm just now realizing that the bread I tried called Concha la Blanca, which means a white shell because Mexico City and they're associated with like shells. I don't know what the history behind it is. I'm not going to try and explain it.
Okay.
There's something with shells. So the bread has this swirling cookie batter pattern on it that looks like a shell. And I'm just realizing that for Day of the Dead bread, they probably just take the same bread dough, take the same cookie batter, and instead of doing a swirl conch shell looking thing, they just do the crisscross.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, this bread is so delicious. I had the same bread. It was the same bread. But they had like different flavors. They had like a chocolatey one. I think they had like a coffee one. Mm-hmm. That's apparently their like a very common everyday type of bread. But the Day of the Dead bread is one that you only see around that time of year, end of October-ish.
You went at such the perfect time to
I
really
know.
experience all those things.
Yeah, it was so much fun. The one fancy experience I had was Elaine's fiance took us to the fancy part of Mexico City, Santa Fe, which honestly the standard of living there is probably higher than what we have here.
Really?
Yeah, it's like a really bougie area of Mexico City. We walked around all these like business buildings. There was an indoor mall. Went to this restaurant. I forget what it was called, but we had a lot of shrimp ceviche. That was probably the spiciest thing I had in Mexico. They just really went hard with that sauce. There was a ton of jalapeno, probably a lot of some other spicy pepper in it. Mm-hmm. One of them was squid ink. That one was delicious because it had squid ink, but it also had like a charred pepper flavor, so it tasted kind of smoky. The other one was lighter and it had like slices of jalapeno and red onion on it. Also super spicy, but even though it looked very light, we had raw clam, so that was kind of our seafood day. I had a shrimp taco. Oh, it was so good, Kim. I'm drooling so much.
Did you have any bad experiences?
I want to say yes, but it was not Mexico's fault. I brought a tamale with me to the airport, and it was a very sad, cold squash tamale that had, I don't know, it probably was delicious when fresh and warm and hot, but because it had been sitting in my backpack and it was previously in the fridge all night, and
yeah, this is probably your fault.
The pork was like cold. Well, it's like I didn't have time.
No, I know.
To like buy something else, and I wanted to eat something from like the food stall, so I brought it with me. So that was like okay.
But that's your only, like, blip?
It was not Mexico's fault. It was my fault.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the only blip. I think at the end of the trip, Elaine even asked me, like, did you eat anything that you didn't like? And I was like, nope. Didn't even have to think about it. I enjoyed everything that I ate there.
Lovely.
Everything was delicious. That fancy, like, seafood restaurant was so good, and I was not expecting to go to any fancy places, but this place was well worth it. Mm-hmm. And Mexico City is not really close to any like sea area, but they said that this place brings in like really, really fresh seafood. And if I'm going to have seafood in Mexico and have like Mexican style seafood, it was that place. I'm pretty sure it was called like the Fishery or something. Had like fish in the title.
Obvious names.
Yeah. They don't mess around. They're like, we sell pork. Our name is like the pig or something. And then of course, churros. After our fancy dinner, we had delicious churros from El Churro. Yup.
So it's gonna be like at the same spot? No, a different spot called El Churro.
El Churro. El Churro is a very famous chain in Mexico City. I don't know if it's all over Mexico, but basically everywhere you go in Mexico City, there will be 1 to 2 El Churros in your area, and all of them will be packed because their churros are admittedly delicious.
There's a reason they've been able to spread and grow.
Yeah.
They're basically Mexico's Starbucks, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean they've also got like 2 different types of like sugar coatings for the churro, one just sugar, one just cinnamon, or one with cinnamon sugar. They've got all of like the hot chocolates that you can enjoy with your churro because that's like the classic pairing, so you have to. They have multiple very different types of hot chocolate. I did not realize how into hot chocolate people in Mexico were, but it's very much a thing. So we had lovely churros. That was the second churro I had in Mexico City. The first one, I got it with arroz, con arroz, which is kind of like their rice pudding, which I was obsessed with in Mexico. It's literally just like a milky rice pudding thing. They sell it in little, almost like yogurt cups. Mm-hmm. And I was just like snacking on that all of the time. And Elaine said it was very strange of me to order a churro with that inside of it because she had never heard of it or had never tried it. But guess what? It was delicious, and I regret nothing. She got the passion for churro, too sweet.
Well,
yeah, I made the right choice. Arroz con leche, you can do no wrong.
Did Elaine feel though that it was too sweet?
Yeah, she said it was way too sweet. Yeah. But Elaine is also not super into sweets.
Okay.
Yeah,
she's you. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess those are my fondest food memories.
Feels like she just gave you her whole trip.
Yep.
In food form.
Yeah. I basically only travel with the intent of eating all their food.
That's not a bad way to travel.
Yeah.
Because if you're eating good food, you're probably pretty happy, and that means a pretty good trip.
Yeah.
So
the only way to make me happy on a trip is to eat, as Elaine discovered. I was basically like pretty chill the whole time, but as soon as she brought me out to eat, I was like, yes, I'm pumped. Just a great time. And I'm very thankful to Elaine and my friend Hadamar and Chivi, who was the friend who drove me around to her house and went to the neighbor's place to get all that food. Everything was delightful.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I didn't jot down. I know for Japan, I kept a journal. Mm-hmm. And I was like jotting down like certain things about the food and remembering, and I feel like this time I just didn't do it. I didn't take pictures of like the menu or a lot of my food so I probably missed a lot of things, and when I think about it later I'll be like, oh yeah, there was this, but I didn't necessarily go to Colombia for the food. I went to go meet my sister's boyfriend. I went to go see the country and all that. And it was
this your first time there?
Yes.
I'm assuming it was.
Yes, it was.
Same.
And
first time in Mexico City. So delightful.
It was very lovely. I'll definitely go back. There's so much more to see, for sure.
I think it really makes a difference that we were there with locals. Mm-hmm. I feel like, especially with the bar hopping, like that would have been very difficult to do, especially to hit up like all really solid places if you went on your own.
And I'm not even much of a bar hopper, so I would never have done that if I wasn't in the presence of my sister and her boyfriend. Yeah
Exactly,
for sure. It is usually just a different feel when you're going there and you're just by yourself. You don't know any locals, and it's just a different trip.
And it's also
not a bad trip, but different.
With Mexico City, the food thing was also a lot to do with safety as well, because you couldn't go to any place for fear if like the sanitary standards weren't very high. Canada is experiencing, or was when I left for Mexico City, an entire national shortage of the Hep vaccine. I tried to get it. They didn't have it. I literally could not get it in time. I feel like if I had been there alone, I would have missed out on a lot of places just because I would be paranoid about food safety. And even with Elaine, like she was like, okay, just like right off the bat, don't go to any of these fruit stands where they make like fruit juices, because I don't even go to them because I don't think it's safe. So a lot of these things I think would have held me back if I was there alone. So I'm glad.
Yeah,
that I was
and
there.
I didn't even I didn't even think about getting my Hep A shot
Okay.
before I went, but my. Not that my sister should have been like, oh, get this. I should be more on top of that stuff. But she's like, yeah, I didn't think of it. And since we were with her boyfriend, he's pretty good at like
he's not going
knowing.
to bring you to strange places.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Nudity. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope that you're drinking more tea after, when you listen to us, you think, oh, tea time. If you want to listen to us audio, you can listen to us pretty much anywhere you get your podcast. Pretty much. Just type in Nudity Podcast. If you want to watch the video version that Wendy edits, you can find that on YouTube under Nudity Podcast. And then we also have our Instagram, which I guess I actually have pictures for these past 2 episodes. I'll actually post about.
Yeah.
And you can follow us at Nudity Podcast there. I think that's it.
That's it.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.